Hello from the Placing Company. I'm Michael Koss.
I'm Michael Barrell.
And today we are testing each other on a really hard interview. We don't know what questions are coming each of our directions, but we have to play through and show you how to go into a hard interview and just survive.
Or how not to go. So I'm going to ask Michael three of my toughest interview questions, and Michael is going to return serve with three of his toughest interview questions. And then I guess we can rate each other at the end or something like that.
That's it?
No, well, at the end, we're going to tell you about a special offering that we're making just to YouTube's subscribers. So we'll let you know then.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below what you think about how we do today.
All right, question one. I've written, Michael, tell me about a time that you failed at something. How did you handle it, and what did you learn?
Thanks, Michael.
Hey, just 1 second. He's trying to cut me off. No, I'm joking. This question, for those of you listening at home, this question's really digging into Michael's resilience and his ability to learn from his mistakes. Do you want me to ask the question again?
Yes, please.
Tell me about a time that you failed at something, and how did you handle it, and what did you learn?
Thank you for the question, Michael. That's really an important one. I know where you're going with it too. It actually takes me back to one of my early days in employment. I was managing quite a large facility, and I was walking outside doing my usual inspection, and I saw a bit of smoke coming from a garbage bin, and I thought, oh my goodness. I ran inside and I got a fire extinguisher, a proper big one, and I took it outside and heroically I pulled out the pin and then I extinguished the fire, when really it was just a little bit of smoke on some garbage in a bin and it was coming out, and really a glass of water would have taken care of it. And I totally failed to assess the situation for what it was meant to be and how severe it was. In the end, about $400 had to be paid to refill the extinguisher. And so I learned to take a second, realize what's actually happening, and address it appropriately rather than what I thought the protocol was meant to be. So that was a big lesson for me.
You probably still did the right thing, except, maybe just spending another second or two just to... What's over there?
I took a cannon to a knife.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Number two, describe a situation where you had to work with a difficult team member. How did you manage the relationship and ensure the project success? This question is all about testing Michael's interpersonal skills and how he manages conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's really important. And there was an instance where I was in a workplace and somebody made a derogatory comment about my religion. At the time, I didn't bring it up with management and I just worked with that person, but I always felt really awkward and I did try to avoid going on shifts with that person. In hindsight, I should have let my manager know what was happening rather than creating that sort of friction in the company. That was definitely my mistake looking back, and in the future, I would address that differently.
Nice answer.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. There we go. I'll employ you. All right, number three, and this is my last one before Michael does his. How do you prioritise competing tasks when everything is urgent? This is obviously a question about time management skills and how Michael might handle pressure.
Absolutely, and I've experienced that a lot working as a lawyer. There are so many urgent tasks that need to get out. So just in general, I conduct myself in a really organized manner. I like to-do lists. Generally, I start one each morning and I'll filter in tasks as they come about during the day. I find also communicating with the management team is really important. If I've reached capacity, finding out if someone is able to take over a couple of the tasks. That way I'm not doing things in a very, task in a bad manner. I can do what I do really well, and other people can supplement my effort as well and also do those tasks well. If they don't know that I'm at capacity, how are they meant to divvy up the work in a better way, which is going to serve the clients better? So generally that communication along with personal organization is how I'll address that.
Wonderful. Great.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
I'll send you my letter of offer shortly.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
My turn.
Please comment and be gentle in the comments, everyone.
All right.
Hey, Michael, let's have a go at this. So, Michael,
Yes.
can you please describe a situation when you had to deliver tough feedback to a colleague? How did you approach it, and what was the outcome? So, I'm going to test here your communication skills and your ability to handle difficult conversations.
Great. Okay. I come from a healthcare background. I'm a nurse by trade. Then I became a lawyer like him, and then I thought that sucks. I'll go back to healthcare. So back in some nursing days when I was working at a hospital, I remember this really clearly. So I was still a pretty new nurse, and we were giving. I used to work in mental health, and we were giving a patient an intramuscular injection, and I was helping get the patient settled before the injection went in the bum by the other nurse. And the other nurse, their technique was not good. So clearly the technique made the patient uncomfortable. There was way too much blood. There shouldn't be hardly any blood from an injection. So anyway, the technique was just off. So the way I handled it was after the event, I asked to have a couple of private moments with the that doesn't sound very good, does it? I asked to have a private moment with the colleague. We did. I was asking about the injection procedure that we did, and what I tried to do was be as objective as possible. So I talked about the impact and what happened, what was visible, what the visible impacts that happened as opposed to what that nurse's attitude might have been, or what their personality might be like. That's not really relevant. What I focused on was the impact of their behaviour, okay? And what I said was, hey, I was watching how you did that injection before. There was quite a bit of blood there. When I was told how to do intramuscular injections, I was told to do it with this technique, and I find it works really well. What do you think about that? Wait for the response and just do it in a non-confrontational way. I often like to think of it as in a way of, in terms of just approaching conflict in general, being more of a curious mindset than an attacking mindset. So just be curious about, hey, why'd you do this that way? Like, I'm curious. Explain. In my experience, it's been done this way, and so I hope I'm making sense. I'm rambling a bit. I've failed the job interview. Yes. So I will always focus on the impacts and the actual behaviour, not the personality or the person. Okay. So whenever I'm critiquing something, I'll be focusing on the behaviour and the impact and the outcome of that behaviour, not the person who's responsible for that behaviour. And what was the outcome? They changed their injection technique. So that was good because it was an easy fix.
Well, and comment below if you want more medical stories from Michael.
There we go.
Okay, on to the next one.
Might have failed that one.
How do you stay motivated when working on tasks that you find boring or repetitive? So here I want to know about your self-motivation and your perseverance.
Got it. Okay. So this is probably twofold. So there's things that I can do beforehand that increases my capacity to engage in what might be more repetitive tasks. And there's things that I can do in the moment to keep that engagement in repetitive tasks consistent. But before I get into that, what I would say is that in every job, Michael, there are going to be boring or repetitive tasks. It's usually pretty much unavoidable. It's going to happen. So I'd go into the job expecting that to happen anyway from time to time, depending on what the job is, of course. So that's just part and parcel. Then there's things that I do beforehand so that I'm more resilient for those more boring or repetitive tasks. Things like the basic stuff, like eating, sleeping well, exercising, having a good social life, that sort of thing, so that I'm in a better mental state to be able to attack those tasks. If I've not had a good sleep the night before, if I've eaten rubbish up until that point, if I'm not really talking to anyone, engaging with many friends, that sort of thing, I'm going to really struggle with that repetitive work. But if I'm living a really healthy lifestyle, I'm going to be better place to be able to engage in that work. The next thing I'd mention is that when I'm in the moment of doing that repetitive or boring work, what I like to try and do is gamify it. So I'll try and make like little goals halfway through the task, or I'll try and divide it up into little bits so that once I get, say, to, like if I'm filling out a spreadsheet, for example, if I can get, 10 cells filled in, then that's a small win. And then I'll move on to the next one. Or I'll make sure that I get up for little breaks every now and then, stretch my legs, walk around the desk, that sort of thing. So I'm not just sitting at the desk for 4 hours straight trying to get this boring, repetitive task done. I'll break it up a little bit, try and make it a little bit fun, try and make it a little bit more palatable for myself.
Well, you heard it here first. Michael works better if he spends time with his friends. So like and subscribe if you want to be Michael's friend.
All right, hit me again.
Okay.
Number 3.
Michael, tell me about a time you took a significant risk at work. What was the risk and how did it turn out? So I want to know here about his risk management skills and also his decision-making capability.
There we go. All right. I'm going to have to go back to healthcare. I'm sorry for most of the people watching this who are not from healthcare. So once upon a time, I worked in emergency departments, and that means triaging patients when they've all got pretty urgent healthcare needs. There's multiple times, but there was one time that I can think of. It was actually a train crash where lots of patients were coming in, having been in a train crash. There were dislocated feet and all sorts of things. So everyone's need was urgent, okay? And some of those people's needs were equally urgent, but we could only do one at a time, okay? So we had to prioritise one over the other. So obviously there were policies and procedures in place at the hospital in terms of how we prioritise things or how we triage patients. So I made sure that I went through that to a T. Thankfully, these two patients were conscious and they could talk to me. And they were actually both quite close, like physically near each other. And one ultimately volunteered to go before the other because their needs were equal, so I involved them. But in terms of risk management strategies, in the context of that question, when we need to take some risks at work, so obviously the risk was taking one before the other. What if the other patient deteriorated while we're getting the other patient treated? That's a significant risk. Both their risks are quite urgent. So what the priority for me was to really follow the hospital's triage framework and make sure that I had covered every single step in that framework to make sure that I was triaging or prioritising the health needs of those patients effectively, so that if things did turn pear-shaped, thankfully they didn't, but if things did go downhill, I could go back and say, look, I went through the hospital's policies and procedures. I followed those. I documented everything. I documented my decision making, all of that sort of thing. I would have documented in that situation. I asked a couple of colleagues. I asked my supervisor as well. So the decision was made. I sort of shared the burden of the responsibility a little bit too. So that's not always possible. Some decisions are going to be yours and yours alone. But in that context, I was able to share a little bit of the decision making burden as well.
Okay, we're done. Now time to assess each other. So, Michael, blunt, brutal, honest. What did you think about my answers? It's your perception only. You hire and fire people all the time.
All right.
What are your thoughts?
My thought is I'm going to remember what I asked you.
Okay.
Tell me about a time that you failed at something. How did you handle it? What did you learn? It's been so long, I've forgotten his answer.
Fire extinguisher.
Fire extinguisher. I thought that was excellent.
Okay.
The only critique I would make, Michael Koss, is that and this isn't a critique of you, every workplace is going to have their own emergency, emergency policies and procedures,
Correct.
That sort of thing.
Yep.
So there's going to be... What your actions were on that day would be specific to your workplace, I imagine, compared to some other workplaces and whatnot. But no, it was a lovely answer.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. All right. the next one, describe a situation where you had to work with a difficult team member. That was a law example, wasn't it?
No, that was at a workplace, and there was a comment about my religion that was derogatory.
Yeah.
And I didn't report it.
No, so what I thought was awesome about your answer was that you were really upfront, and you actually got a little bit vulnerable about it. There's a delicate balance in terms of oversharing in the interview and being forthcoming in it. So it's a bit of a balance, but I think you struck it right.
Yeah.
And what you did was acknowledge that you could have done it a little bit better. Like there was a bit of room for improvement, which employers are going to look upon favourably usually, because they'll think, okay, so they're modest. They can see where, like, everyone knows, like every employer that interviews you, they're going to know you're not perfect because no one's perfect. So having a candidate on the other side of the desk saying, yeah, I know I'm not perfect. I did make a mistake here. I could have improved how I went with that. It's a good thing. So a pass.
Thank you.
All right. Number 3, how do you prioritise competing tasks when everything is urgent?
That was the lawyer one.
That was the lawyer one.
And involved to-do lists and delegating.
Ripper. Fantastic. I would not add anything more to that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Do I get a job? How did I go?
So I think with your answers, number one positive that came through is that you're definitely a storyteller. You get very
That's
animated.
Michael politely saying that I ramble.
Well, that's, I guess, the downside of it. That the answers can go a little bit long, and then the interviewer's wondering, hold on, what did I ask? And do I really deserve this right now? And that's the balance. And so generally, my usual gauge is if I am giving an answer and I start talking to myself in my head while I'm on repeat, then probably I'm going a little bit long and to try and come back to the core. But I would certainly hire you. I really like your point about giving the feedback to a colleague that was based on objective things that were observable.
Yeah,
I thought that was really strong.
Yeah.
And so... comment in the section below what you think about how we did today, and the comments we've given to each other. Are they fair? Are they not? I know, Michael, we have a promotion happening for our YouTube subscribers.
We do. So we do a group coaching program. We're launching it again in October.
Yes, middle of the month.
It's a little far away. Not that far away.
It's not that far
When's
away.
October?
Now. It's only in a few weeks.
Oh, it's August now. There we go. We are doing a group coaching program. It is for YouTube subscribers only. There's a link down the bottom. We're doing 50% off, which is fantastic. We'll catch up a couple times a month. We'll be answering all your questions. We'll be giving you advice, resources, templates, all that sort of stuff. All about making your journey to Australia on a skilled visa for a skilled job that much easier. So you've got someone in your corner, backing you, answering your questions, giving you the facts, so you don't need to beat around the bush and get the wrong information.
So like and subscribe to the Placing Company channel. We have in the comment section below our direct contact. Otherwise, we try and get back to everyone who comments on this video as well, and each of our videos directly. Make sure that you hit notification bell to find out each time we upload a video on YouTube, and get in touch with us. We're looking forward to seeing you next time.
See you later. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.